Thank you, Dr. Morrison. It's a pleasure to serve under your chairmanship. Now, in my local area of Congleton constituency, we have had a large amount of housing growth in the last few years, and we expect to have a large amount more. My constituents are not NIMBYs. They absolutely recognise that it is a huge problem that young people cannot afford to leave home in my area. It is a huge problem that there are an absolute shortage of care workers in my area alongside an older population, that we do not have sufficient nurses, we don't have enough teachers. We need key worker housing. Yeah. But what we also need is the infrastructure to go with it. Yeah. So in my local area, transport really primarily is about roads. It's a series of small towns and villages, and people drive between them as much as they possibly can. I live in my constituency, and so I despair of the potholes in exactly the same way as my constituents do. Our roads are dark, they are dangerous, and far too many of our young people are dying on them completely needlessly. The A500 is a complete mess. The A34 is the major road to Manchester. Lots of people commute on it. It is a single lane. It is unlit. It is frequently flooded. It's completely dangerous, and it's a disaster. I could carry on ad infinitum. The only other road I'm going to mention, though, because there are so many I could list, is the Middlewich bypass, which would unlock major employment opportunities and that we need the government to fund. Now, when I talk to young people or other people who can't drive in my area, the major area of transport they talk about is buses. And I had the pleasure of talking to Shipton Explorer Scouts about the experiences of trying to use buses in our local area. They talked to me about buses that become so full that they simply drive past them on the way to school and won't pick them up. There aren't enough services, and they simply don't stop. We've also, if you try to take, for instance, a bus from Alstager to Royalstoke or Leighton Hospitals, it will take you nearly an hour. It's only 9 miles. If you try to take what might be one of the most important journeys you're ever going to do, for instance, from Holmes Chapel to one of our local hospices, again, it will take you a really long time. There's no direct bus, for instance, from Congleton, a town of 30,000 people, to Macclesfield Hospital, which is our nearest major general hospital. These are really fundamental services. We want to invest in the NHS, and it's vital that we do so, but it is no point in us having additional appointments if people simply cannot get to them. Coming on to trains, I mean, don't even get me started on the trains in my constituency. They are unbelievably unreliable. There have not been Sunday services in reality for literally years now. Congleton's last train from Manchester is at about 9 p.m. on a Saturday night. I reiterate, this is a town with 30,000 people. Sandbach, a town of 20,000 people, has no accessible route across to the platform, so people with disabilities, with buggies and with luggage, because it is a route to Manchester Airport, simply cannot get there and have to go backwards to Crewe in order to make the journey to Manchester. It's absolutely crackers. Now, I could talk about all of this in even more detail and ad infinitum, but I really want to talk about how incredibly short-sighted the decisions are that have been made about transport investment historically. I'd reiterate the comment that my colleague from Mid Cheshire made about we'd have had £66 billion more in the last decade alone if we'd had the same per-person investment as London. I don't want to take money away from London. I want us to have a thriving capital, but I want my constituents to be able to get there, and I also want them not to have to. I want them to have the opportunities in my constituency and in the wider northwest in the first place, and then I want them to be able to access them. Thank you.
I call